Manchester United 0, Arsenal 1, an opening loss. First game of the season, Manchester United. I'm joined by Scotty and Tom. There's a lot to go through there. Despite only being one goal in that game, it felt like a lot happened, and especially in comparison to last season. I'm going to say straight away, I think that was an excellent performance from Manchester United, a game that we thoroughly deserved, not just to draw, but I think we deserved to win that game. There's loads to go through, obviously. Scotty, first of all, how are you feeling? How do you feel like United played there?
Yeah, I thought it was like one of the best United performances I've seen in a long time, to be absolutely honest with you. But the overall feeling is guttedness, because we deserved way much more than we got. We were robbed by a penalty decision to even get a draw. We lost the game by a goalkeeping error, and either side of that, we were the better team. It just wasn't. But there's loads to be positive about, like the debutants. I think Cooney was fantastic second half, and Bumo in the first half. De Ligt was great in the back. It's just, you don't want it to overshadow everything. We had the opportunity there. If we'd won the game today, as we should have done, it's quite the marker to set the morale for the rest of the season.
It's going to be hard, isn't it? Well, I guess we'll see. Making sure that the result of that performance or the result of that game doesn't dictate how the camp feels, how the club feels, how we feel as fans going into the next game and the next game and the next game. Because performance-wise, that was as good as we've seen under Amir, I'd say. Definitely.
I think it helps that there's a couple, like that Sesko wasn't ready. Yeah. And there's a couple of little things that need tweaking, and because it's difficult, I guess, obviously right now to feel good about that. But I'm looking at this season in isolation. I mean, there's no way if United continue to play like that, if they conspire to somehow not score goals and lose games, continually for a few weeks, maybe it'll be a problem. But I don't see that's night and day to what I've been watching.
Yeah, I mean, I completely agree. Obviously, the comments are mixed. I think there's a lot of people looking at that performance as for what it is, which is a lot better than last season against a good team, a team that is presumably going to be trying to win the league this season, or they're certainly going to be trying to win the league, probably going to be in a title race this season. I thought United were comfortably the better team. We'll get into some more of that, some of the good stuff. We need to look at, obviously, we have lost the game. Why have we lost the game? Two reasons. We didn't score a goal, and that mistake from Bayindir. Is there any more to it than he's just too soft, he flaps at it? Is there any more to read into that? Do we need to dissect it too much, or is it just he should have been stronger and should have got the ball away?
For me, that's the underlying problem, is that he wasn't strong enough. But when you look at the player who was it was Saliba, wasn't it, against Mount? Why is Mount on that player? It should have been maybe a Casemiro or a De Ligt, someone with a bit more of a physical presence. But ultimately, the problem was because the goalkeeper isn't good enough, and it was too weak. Yeah,
is that almost make it easier? Obviously, it doesn't. It's not good that he's our first choice goalkeeper right now, but the fact that it's a position that we all knew needed fixing anyway. He is our second choice keeper from last season. He made the mistake. Does that add to that, like, Sesko didn't start narrative that we can build to kind of protect ourselves?
A little bit. You have to, really. I mean, because as you said before, I think what's the problems that are left to fix. I don't think anyone's under any illusion that the manager absolutely knows that and is doing everything he can to fix it now rather than waiting. I haven't heard much on the goalkeeper front, but it is interesting, the comments before the game. I didn't realise that about Onana, that he was fit and that decision's been made. So I think sometimes things happen in a way, it couldn't have been highlighted any better that we need a goalkeeper, because that's a really close game where we've played well, probably needed a bit of luck ourselves. Sometimes, it happens like that, and maybe you don't win the game, but you draw it. You don't give yourself. It's a shocking goal to concede, and then we said it during the stream, didn't we? Just losing to that performance today. Arsenal were really poor. If they'd got beat today, they'd be asking a lot of questions about their ambitions this season. Yeah. And they've come away with a win, and that'll do a lot for them, because they've got out of jail massively. Yeah, absolutely. I'm just looking at some of the stats then. 22 shots for United to Arsenal's 9, 7 shots on target to their 3. The vast majority of their sort of expected goals coming from the goal, obviously, because by the time it goes in, Calafiori's literally just tapping it in on the line. I think any human in existence could have scored that goal. More passes for United, more possession, 61% to Arsenal's 39%. And yes, it's easy to say, well, after the goal, Arsenal sat back. We had 56% in the first half as well. And Arsenal weren't playing quite as defensively in the first half, 66 in the second half. I just think United were the better team. I thought, in terms of looking at comparisons from last season, because there's no point sitting here and
trying to be fuming and writing off the season and it's more of the same, because it's not more of the same. And if you watch that game and think that's more of the same from last year, I just don't think you're watching the same game as us, because in terms of the things that we used to struggle with last season, being out sort of physicaled by a team, if I can use that word, looking slower, looking less strong, looking less up for it, less willing than the opposition, there was none of that. De Ligt, like you said, was an absolute monster defensively. Dorgu wasn't always quite 100% technically, but his physicality, his running was brilliant. I thought even Casemiro was getting stuck in and doing good things and didn't look, particularly slow for pace. The new signings look much more dangerous. Like I said, 22 shots against Arsenal, that's really good.
Yeah.
And they weren't all just, speculative. There were a few of those, but we got the ball in the box. We got touches inside their box. And I think there's so many things to be positive about. The other thing as well to remember is, our aim for this season, I think almost everyone I've spoken to would be happy with European football of some description and maybe a sneaky challenge for Champions League if things go really well. Dropping 3 points doesn't change any of that, doesn't stop any of that, doesn't rule any of that out. I don't think we should sit here and try and sack the manager, dissect everything that's wrong with the squad. Ugarte had a bit of a shaky cameo, his head's all over the place at the minute, that needs addressing. The goalkeeper situation needs addressing for sure. But there were so many positives today, I thought, personally. Let me get into some comments, then we'll go back into some of the players in particular who played really well. Robert Dineen is a new member, thank you very much. Bumbilly1 says, not a keeping error, it was tactical. Mount should have been between Bayindir and the Arsenal player pushing him. I agree with that.
He's trying his best.
But A, he's trying his best, and B, it's still a keeping error. He gets his hand on it. He just mistimes it. He goes like that, and it hits like his thumb and his fingers. He doesn't get
his feet here. He messes his feet up because he ends up off that.
We're literally seeing it right now. It literally just hits the top of his hand. He doesn't get the right connection.
If you can't, if you're not going to catch it, why don't you just punch it?
It's all a bit. It's like he's half gesturing for a foul, half trying to clear the ball. It was.
I feel like watching this here, some of the panel are arguing quite ferociously, saying it's a foul. It is soft.
It is soft.
But it's a little bit unfortunate when you look. I mean, that's the. I was going to say, with the only thing that's kind of a negative is that we're going to lose games where we don't play well. Losing a game where we've played really well and the other team has been really poor could be concerning. But I actually think defensively, we don't think we gave much away. I thought we were really good.
No, not at all. I think man for man we defended really well, and as a unit we did. Like we said, Casemiro not being exposed for pace indicates to me that there weren't gaps there. The team was compact and it did really well. I'm just going to get through these comments. King Lefty says, bring back De Gea. Interesting. Jack Lebrun says, Ugarte shocking yards off it. Can't pass or shoot, get rid. Stupidly, the only shot I think he had was from about 38 yards out, which I think taking the shot was the problem there. Ashraya says, De Ligt was so good. That was Vidic-like performance from him. Probably my favourite performance from him so far. 10 Big Hike says, the chat is mental. 22 shots and lost on a bad goal. Scotty, in terms of performances today, we've been looking so... funnily enough, I'm saying this, and we've not scored. But I thought we looked so much better in terms of transitioning into attack. Yeah. Cunha and Burmo in particular. Talk to me about them.
Yeah. There's a lot of encouragement. Okay, we didn't score, but you had the belief that the players had it in them to actually get an equaliser or go on and maybe win the game. We look at like Cunha making moments from absolutely nothing. That run that he went on when he received the ball at the halfway line, and then next minute we're in the box and I think we got a corner from it. We didn't see that sort of transitions last season. In the first half, there was lots of great movement between Delo and Mbeumo running off each other. Mbeumo's first touch is incredible. The way he brings that ball out of the sky, and then he's off straight away. So direct. It was everything we were lacking last season in attack. It was there in evidence today. Just didn't show a goal at the end of it, unfortunately.
Yeah, in terms of Mbeumo and Cunha, straight away, do you see the difference? Do you see how this season can be less like last season?
It's quality. And they're not. And Mbeumo's not fully up to speed, is he? Both of them were brilliant to watch. And the important thing to remember as well is, this is, you're not going to play many. In theory, you're not going to play many teams better than this. I know they were a bit difficult to watch at times, but it is Arsenal, and they're playing a different game where every point they drop is potentially a problem when you're going for the title these days. But no, the new signings were brilliant, and Sesko, he's got a few weeks, 2 or 3 weeks. Hopefully he gets up to speed. It should look night and day different. Yeah, it should. Hands up for the Panther says, we lost to Stoke City. Sorry, Arsenal FC again. See the absolute meltdowns from the fake fans in the chat. Played amazing despite the loss. Corner FC. To your point, Tom, like,
if they could, obviously, how many points can you get? 120 odd maximum you can get. They're probably playing with 25 points that they can drop this season. So, dropping points in the first game is not catastrophic, but you could see how desperate they were not to drop anything.
Yeah.
And I think the way they defended, and there's a super chat talking about how much grit that Arsenal showed. I think some of it was fear personally with Arsenal. When I watched them play today, I didn't think they were a team that was going for it. I thought they got lucky and held on to it. Again, teams are going to do that, and you've got to be able to break them down. But like you said, the fact that we got as close as we did, the fact that we made chances despite the fact you got one of the best defences in the country only trying to defend, and we still made chances. We should have had a penalty in the second half. I'm going to get into that as well. I think that there's a lot of good signs there. Antel says, played arse off the park today, deserved to win. Yomi Nelson says, I was at the game and I felt the performance was alright, but we should never play Ugarte again. Bloody hell. Cunha and Mbeumo were very exciting. Up the roads, up the paddock. Pundits full of praise for how Arsenal dug in. This is Carl Manx. But nothing for United making them have to dig in. This all after them saying we would finish 9th. Pritesh says, good performance, but would be more significant if we start playing well against smaller teams and beating them. That's where we stunk out the joint last season. That is a very good point. Turning up against the big teams in big games, we did almost kind of do that under Amorim last season, didn't we? Good performances against Arsenal, the FA Cup, Liverpool in the league. That draw at Anfield was very good. Beating City as well. Weirdly, that was sort of where we were at our best.
Yeah.
How important is it that we take this into... It's Fulham next, isn't it?
Yeah.
How important is that?
Well, I think that sort of goes down to the team building exercise that he's been doing away from Carrington to try and make them more sort of as a unit. Yeah. Because when we've been playing against like the lower level teams previously, there's been no accountability between the players. And now I think because they are seem like more like a team, you'd see them like, we're going to do this. It just seemed like a team where in the previous they haven't.
Yeah. So frustrating.
I think as well, like, you look at last season and some of the better performances coming against the bigger teams, it's players raising the game. I still couldn't tell you week to week, that I couldn't see that the players were starting to understand the manager more and putting it into practice. That was a lot more tactically complete.
Yeah, absolutely. Completely agree. I mean, on the penalty thing then, because we've seen it a few times, it was Saliba on Cunha, wasn't it? Saliba, I thought, was all right today, but looked clumsy a few times. I thought he sort of, I don't know, he seems to have lost some of that, I don't know, spark that he had a couple of seasons ago. But the ball's coming into Cunha's feet, and as far as I can see it, and I think by what we've said, all of us can see it, he just tries to win it despite the fact there's a player in front of him.
Yeah.
What did for you, is that a penalty?
I can't understand it, because I mean the argument is that Cunha's moved across into the space where Saliba was, but Cunha wins the ball, he moves into the path of the ball, obviously controls it with his right, his left foot becomes his standing foot. Saliba really in that position has got to try and be as physical and as close as he can, but he can't win the ball through the player.
Yeah.
By trying to play, if he trips over a standing leg, I understand why it's not given, but Saliba's made a clear play for the ball. All the comments, it seems pretty stonewall to me. That I understand how you can miss it in real time, but I cannot understand how that's not looked at.
Not gone to VAR and stuff. Yeah, it's ridiculous.
Penalty,
I can't understand it at all. He's taken the man down. The man was like, I had the ball in front of him. It's just
no contact on the ball.
No, that's
he's tried to win the ball.
Yeah.
He's tried to win it, and he's taken the player down.
You said just before we went live perfectly. Sometimes you can't get the ball. Like you've got no right to be able to just kick it. If there's a player between you and the ball, you can't kick it anymore. Because if you do, it's a foul first. And it's like the ref was, and the I don't even know who it was, sort of, ref voice, floating ref voice that just agrees with the decision. I just don't understand how you can have a man between you and the ball, and I'm just going to try and kick the ball anyway and pretend I don't know that his foot's there. To me, it just has to be a penalty, and it almost goes like, I don't know. It feels like because we've been so shit last season, and because it's it's Arsenal and you've got to be better than Arsenal, and they're I just like you can't even say that that's meant to be a penalty. You get the feeling that I don't know. Oh, United have got to be stronger. Yeah. Oh, I mean, they should have had a penalty, but they should have been winning anyway. They should, but not always. Sometimes in big games. Look at the way Arsenal have won today. The shittest nothing mistake from our goalie has won them this game. So we should be annoyed when a penalty that should be given isn't given. Because that's the big difference in big games.
Defenders will try and get themselves in between the striker and the ball for the tiniest touch to go down, and they'll get it. Yeah, all the time. I don't think Cunha's even looking for it.
No, I don't.
think he is actually trying to control the ball.
Yeah, it's absurd to me that. Looking ahead a little bit then, we know that United want to buy a midfielder. Belabour isn't going to happen this window apparently. Whether it's another defensive midfielder, whether it's another goalkeeper, which again is a position they want to strengthen. Do you think the priorities have changed? Do you think we have to go for a goalie now? Do you think we need to get both? What have we learned from this game transfers-wise?
Okay, I think you said it before, but I think the goalkeeper error now has come to the forefront of the problems, because the midfield was a concern as well before kick-off. If we'd had played one of the best teams in the league, and it didn't seem to be a problem.
Yeah.
So in that logic, if we were only buying one player, the glaring obvious one was the mistake today.
Yeah. Over the course of a season, which of those areas do you think will be most problematic most often, do you think?
Obviously, depending on what's happening with Onana, maybe he is going to come back into the team, and he's probably a little bit... He's still better than Bayandere, I think.
Yeah.
I don't want to read too much into one game, because I feel like the way this game was set up, maybe that's allowed us to play a certain way and paper over some of the cracks in the middle. As Ronaldo was saying, I think it was Ronaldo, it's about the smaller teams. We've no disrespect, but we've got Fulham next week. It's going to be a different game.
Yeah.
How pivotal is that player? We've talked about how this partnership in the middle, we're not quite sure if it works. What I wouldn't want is a stopgap of either spending £60 million on a midfielder only to need to go again next summer. I'd rather just do the piece of business that you can.
I mean, did we almost do that with Ugarte? We spent 50 million on someone that sort of, when he's on his day, he's very good, but everyone on their day is very good. That's why you're professional footballers.
Yeah.
That would be my worry as well, that we get a sort of £35 million midfielder.
There's another player
that's
that
a bit slow, a bit shit. It's taken 30 million off next year's budget or whatever. Yeah, we've got to make sure that the right person is available. In terms of playing a different way, the other thing to think about is, I think Bayandere obviously didn't always go long today, but a lot of times chose to go long, didn't he? Played that ball up to Mount a couple of times in the first half, up to Mbeumo as well. Is that an instruction because the manager doesn't trust the midfield to play out, or is it instruction because he doesn't trust the keeper to play out? That's something that I'd like to speak to Amarim about and say, are you worried about the goalie being shit with his feet, or do you think this midfield can't play out? And again, factor that into what we need. We clearly need both, obviously, we know that. But I don't think we're going to get both this window, certainly.
I would look at the way Mbeumo was played in that first half and think, I'd want to be hitting him quickly, because he's high up the pitch, isolate, he was bringing the ball down so well and turning and rolling in behind. Like, in a way, it's pragmatic sometimes. I don't mind it. If you think there's a duel that you can win, go for it.
Yeah, of course.
I completely agree. Vion Batir says this is the first time in a very long time where Bruno had a bad game, but the team played well. I completely agree. I thought second half he got better, Bruno. I thought the first half he looked a bit rushed and a bit erratic. I thought second half he actually played quite well, but overall, certainly not his best game. But like we said, how nice is it that he can have a bit of a day off, and yet us as a team don't just look completely shit.
Yeah, I mean, throughout the entirety of his career at Manchester United, every week we've been looking for Bruno Fernandes to win us the game, and if he couldn't, then United didn't win. Today, it was good in a way for him not to have the greatest of games, because it showed what the other players are capable of going forward, and we can rely on them to get goals. Yeah,
absolutely. Loads of comments as well. People talking about it's going to be between Liverpool and City for the title, potentially. I mean, if Arsenal play like that every week, I think they'll do what they've done the last couple of years, which is eventually the pressure and the stress, they sort of crumble a bit, don't they? But I'm sure they'll have better weeks than today. Someone mentioned Sesko as well. We haven't really spoken about him much. Didn't get too much of the ball when he came on. He's not the sort of striker that's going to be getting too much of the ball. Nice little bit of link-up play at times. Unfortunately, the ball didn't quite fall to him. Did you learn anything about Sesko, Tom, that you didn't know before?
Not really. From what I've seen of Sesko, little bits of what I've seen, he is someone that can... He's not uncomfortable coming a little bit deeper. But I do think that the way that game was going, the instruction has got to be get in the box. We're going to have possession. There's players that can deliver the ball. And it just didn't quite fall. I think it would have been a great result if he'd just managed to get on the end of one of them, even though he wasn't, too involved. It would have been nice to see. Yeah, it's early, isn't it? He's not really trained too much. He's not had any competitive minutes with the team. That's his first it'll get better over the next month. You'd like to think so.
Yeah. If you look at the first half as being maybe a template of how we're going to be setting up, that was just screamed, put Sesko in the middle for that, because the amount of times it was coming down through and Bomo and Delo. Yeah. We were saying there's no crosses into the box, but it needs a striker in there. And you got Cooney again. I think he was better when he dropped to the left 10 in the second half. So,
and it's always harder in the low block. I mean, you watch the goals that Haaland scores. I mean, that's the hardest part of the game. Just for all the attacking players there, trying to unlock that when Arsenal are camped in. Yeah. It's tricky to find the space, but in the first half, you definitely saw that. When he's up to speed, when the game's being played like that, you'd like to think he'd be in them positions and he would have solved the problem that seemed pretty glaring in the first half.
Yeah, absolutely. Kaz Mofo's been a member for 29 months. Thank you. See him in the chat all the time. There was a lot of positives from this game. Unlucky goal. Lessons to learn from this game. I'm confident that we can at least score against Fulham. I hope so. That's the start, isn't it? Poopy Snoopy. Such an upbeat and sort of jokey name. And then Ugarte needs his P45. Waste of space. Or waste of a place in the team, he says there. I think we'll wrap it up there. A lot of positives from that game. The overall loss being, to me, I don't. Obviously, it's a huge and important thing, but I would much. When we watched Ten Hag's team, as I said before, 2 seasons ago, we finished 8th. We won plenty of games. Not a great season by any means, but certainly more games than we won last season. How many of those games did we go, didn't deserve to win that? Oh, not good enough today. And it ended up getting worse and worse and worse, and eventually you get sacked. I'm seeing a lot of positive signs there, a lot of green shoots and a lot of difference from last season, where I think if this keeps going this way, it's going to be, challenging for Europe rather than looking over our shoulder for relegation. So, yeah, hopefully a lot of positives. Tom, Scotty, as always, thank you for coming on. Thank you for joining us at home. A gutting day, a loss on the opening day to Arsenal. They're doing their Stoke City thing. We'll leave them to it. United are actually trying to play some proper football. Thank you very much for joining us. We'll see you in a bit.